So there are some jobs in the garden that are both a blessing and a curse. And for me, setting up the watering stuff is one of those things. It's a blessing because if I'm setting up the irrigation system here in the vegetable garden, that means it's time for gardening. On the other hand, it is such a pain in the butt. So fortunately, I've got something that is making it simpler, and anything I can do to make this process less frustrating is absolutely a good thing for everybody involved. And that's where these guys come in. So thanks to Rainpoint for partnering with me on this video, and they are the makers of these timers. So these are new Bluetooth timers for my vegetable garden. You guys, I have gone around and around with timers, and all timers are not created equal. And so in the past, I had Wi-Fi timers out here because it was the only thing I could find was Wi-Fi timers that also had a Bluetooth component to it. Well, what I found with those other timers was that the Bluetooth component did not work well, and if you turned on the Bluetooth, you lost the Wi-Fi. And so a lot of times I would think my system was running and it wouldn't. Also, our Wi-Fi is not reliable out here. Because we're just far enough away from the house that it works a little bit, but not a lot. And as you've probably discovered yourself, a little bit of Wi-Fi is worse than no Wi-Fi. So it was problematic. Now, Rainpoint does make a Wi-Fi timer. This is the little unit that you would put in your house, and then it sends the signal. And they look basically the same as this, except they're yellow. And then they run all on Wi-Fi. But we are doing Bluetooth, and all of it runs through an app. So I don't need to sit on the ground to figure this all out. So I do have everything hooked up to what is a very complicated looking system here. And I have a diagram somewhere of what goes where. And if you think I can remember that, you would be wrong. I don't know where that is. So every year I have to figure this out again. Basically, the way this irrigation system works is that there is a line underground that runs water out here. That comes over the top. We split to a Y valve here. Part of this will go to a regular hose. Part of this goes to the drip system that's in all of the beds. And all of the lines for that run underground. I also have drip in the two skinny in-ground beds along the side. Then you get to your timer, and then you get to these. This is some sort of pressure reducer filter something or another. I don't entirely remember exactly what this does, but I remember being a very important part of this drip irrigation system. So these things are all ready to go. We've got all our valves on. There are a lot of different valves here, but these are all set to go. So now that they're plugged in here, we can just get them programmed. Okay, so now we go to the app, and that's the thing I really like about these. Is the app is very intuitive and very simple. Some of these apps on these timers are so complicated, you're never really sure. You don't have confidence that they're working. There is a QR code right on the package, so you just scan that QR code and you go immediately to go get the apps. Now, I've already got my first one hooked up, but now we're going to add these other three. And so immediately it says, what do you want to add? It found 3 of them. We are going to, I'm just going to add this first one first, which I believe is going to be this one, but let's see. Press this until you get a rapid flash, and it's found it. So now we change the name of it so we know what bed we are going to be watering, and that is the west beds. And I'm also going to number them so I know here which one is which. Okay, done. Okay, now we can set up, so now we get to set up our watering schedule. So we are going to go to plan. Okay, so we're going to do plan A. We want this set at irrigation. We're going to set this to go off at 5 a.m., which I've already done. For our duration, we're going to do 30 minutes. What's nice is that if I need to change this, it's not hard to do that. And then I'm going to do this every other day except on, we're going to do Sunday and Monday back to back. Okay. Then we're going to hit save. So I set those up at times that are not the same, so that once I go daily, which is not necessary yet, but once I go to a daily schedule, I won't have to change the time. Now, you can also set a manual mode. So that's where you say you just came to your garden and you're like, oh, we got to water that zone again. You just press the button once and it's going to go on manual mode. I'm just going to set manual mode for like 25 minutes. And that way that one's good to go if you just press that. So there's all my everything lined up. I still have to hook this one up. It's not actually hooked up to anything yet, so there's no need to do that. But let me just show you how this works. We're just gonna hit manual mode and we're gonna watch this guy turn on. So the beauty of this is that I can now control all the watering for this garden from my phone as long as I'm standing over here. And that's what I actually couldn't do before. When I had a Wi-Fi one where I had sketchy Wi-Fi between my phone to the house, to the controller in the house that would have to go out here, it hardly ever worked. And that was really frustrating because I notice watering issues or when something needs to be adjusted when I'm standing in this garden, not when I'm in my house. So that works great. I'm really excited to have these in, and I really, really appreciate that really simple interface on the app, because one thing that really bothers me are apps that are unnecessarily complicated. They don't need to be a big thing. That worked great. Now there's one other place I want to talk to you about. So sometimes those smart timers are really helpful and that's the perfect solution for what you need. But sometimes you don't need all that. You just need something kind of simple, and that's what I do in the only other area in my yard where I have any sort of irrigation other than me or occasionally a soaker hose or a sprinkler. And that is in the skinny bed alongside the front of the house. This is south facing against a white house under an eave. It absolutely needs drip irrigation in there. Before I had it, I could not keep things happy in here. So I now have 1/2-inch tubing with emitters every 12 inches in here. And then I also actually run a white tube up the white house into the window box. Once the dahlias get taller, you can't see that tube. And so now I'm also doing the window box behind me here with that. And it worked really well last year. Last year was the first year I did that and it worked well. So I'm going to do that again. But over here, I don't need Bluetooth. I don't need any of this. This does everything I need. This is just a very simple digital timer with a dial. If you can set the clock on your oven or your microwave or set a timer for something, you can use this. That's how easy this one is. Takes 2 AAA batteries. You just dial it in, set your clock, obviously what time it is. Then you dial in how long you want it to run for. I run this one for 40 minutes, but again, I'll adjust if I see the need for that. You can set how many times a day you want it to run and how many days a week you want it to run. So very versatile, does everything you need in terms of setting up your watering. It just only handles one zone. It's really simple. It does everything you need in a timer. It's just that you don't control it through your phone. Now, I set this up to run at 9 o'clock every morning, once a day for 40 minutes. So one thing to keep in mind when you're setting up your timers is what time are you using water in your house? I try to set up all the timers at times when nothing else is typically running. So by 9 o'clock in the morning, I've set up the vegetable garden for very early in the morning. And then by 9 o'clock in the morning, we're all done taking showers or anything else that might be using water, so that we're not taxing the water system, right? There's plenty of water flowing to wherever we need it to go. Now, there is a manual override here, which you can use if you've got this connected to whatever, if you just want it to run. Or if you need, like one day it's really, you just need extra water, but you don't want to reset all your settings, you can just press that manual override and it'll automatically run for you. All it is a matter of just connecting it to your spigot and then connecting your drip tubing or your hose or your soaker hose or whatever you're going to use with this to the bottom. Okay, so the timers are all set up. Even though the plants are not in, the plants are not ready to go yet, the water is ready for them when they're there. And that's so important to get that stuff hooked up and ready to go at the time, because you know how this goes. You plant small plants, you miss a day with them, and all of a sudden you're trying to get them back to where they should be. So get it right from the get-go. Big thing with these water timers for me is, since these are two really sensitive areas, these are areas where it's just really important that they have consistent watering. It's a huge load off my mind when we leave. I can leave. and not worry about it. Many of the containers that I do water by hand here are so big that they can go, and do go, several days without watering. So if I leave for, you know, a long weekend or something, they're fine. But these areas absolutely need water every day. So having that checked off the list is it's just a huge relief to me. It just makes a big difference when you want to be able to not be a slave to your garden. So simple solutions for potentially big issues in your garden. All right, I hope you're having a great day in your garden. Thank you for watching. We'll see you soon.